Okay, let's lock in and do this thing, shall we? Yeah, a little farther, perhaps. Now I gotta check in. All right. Hey guys, I'm Riley. I'm an alcoholic, and welcome to At Long Last podcast. Some of you all might know me from TikTok. Probably most of you all know me from TikTok. But I thought today we would dive in a little bit deeper into my story and really just explain why I'm here and what this podcast is and what it means to me and what my vision is for it. So if you're here and you're watching, make sure to subscribe. And I thank you so very much for holding space with me, for following along with my journey, for sharing your own journeys with me. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. And if somebody hasn't told you on the other side of the screen, I'm talking to you. If somebody hasn't told you today, you are loved, you are important, you matter. No matter what, you can turn your life around. I fucking mean that, dude. Because if I didn't mean that, then I wouldn't be here. I was originally born in Louisville, Kentucky. Shout out Louisville, not Louisville, not Louisville, Louisville. And I heard somebody say that when they hear somebody describe their childhood as normal, they take it as a red flag, which I don't particularly disagree with, okay? Because it does insinuate maybe that person hasn't processed really what happened in their childhood. And it also, doesn't touch on the fact that, like, nobody really has a normal childhood if you think about it. And we all have our shit, right? We all have our fucking shit. But with that being said, I did have a particularly normal childhood. Now, if I really think into it, are there some instances that maybe jump out at me? Sure. Should I jump into that? I'm the oldest of 3 daughters, okay? Firstborn. That in and of itself is setting you up to either be golden child or golden fuck up. I say that lovingly to myself these days. I am the oldest of 3 daughters. My middle sister is a year and a half younger than me. And my youngest sister is 8 years younger than me. And then we have a half brother who is 8 years older than me. So a very blended family. My brother grew up in South Carolina. He would visit us during the summers, but he wasn't a major part of our childhood. So I essentially, yes, I had an older brother, but I was the oldest child. Blended families can be complex like that. And I do expound on that just a little bit because I think back to all the times that I would cry at night and wish that I had an older sibling. And then I would say to myself, well, you have an older brother, but he's not here. And where is he? And if you know my older brother, he is the most wonderful human being in the world. He is funny, kind, he was hilarious. When we were growing up, I thought he hung the moon. I still do, He would come and visit us during the summers or for major holidays. And he was just like, he is the biggest jokester. So I say all that to say that, yes, I have an older brother, but again, I'm the oldest child. Oldest of the household, at least. And my younger sisters and I had an interesting dynamic growing up. So my youngest, her name's Abby. When our parents took me and Delaney, who's my middle sister, into the bathroom and they told us, hey girls, you're going to have another sibling. Our reaction was not like, oh my God, a new human baby doll. We were sobbing, crying, hysterical, like, how could you do this to us? Another baby, you gotta be kidding me. And then when she was born, she was like a little cherub. Abby was the cutest baby I've ever seen to this day. I mean, she put Gerber babies to shame. And it's so funny because as I'm filming this, she's getting ready for her 21st birthday party. And it's so surreal. But anyways, that was the dynamic. Abby was our new little baby angel. And me and Delaney were always like twins. Our moms dressed us the same, put us in the same bedroom, gave us each a little twin bed with our own canopy. We were a unit, but we didn't get along very well. And I think that is because we were a unit. We, in my opinion, the way I see it, we're not viewed separately, but always together. And I think it's hard to find a uniqueness or to compete for a parent's love when you're identified pretty much as a conglomerate with your middle sister. So did I have a normal childhood? I don't fucking know. I don't know. My mom was a fun mom, okay? And so was my dad. We moved from our first house, my childhood house, when I was going from 2nd to 3rd grade. And we moved to this really, really, really bougie town. It's called Anchorage. It's very small. It's within Louisville, but it's very affluent. There are celebrities that live there. There are just the wealthiest people you can think of that live in this neighborhood. And immediately I was like, how do I fit into this? Genuinely, at third grade, how do I fit into this? And it wasn't really until I started school that I felt that way. We moved during the summer and immediately got introduced to the girls that lived across the street, who ironically, there were 3 girls. One was my age, one was my sister's age, and then one was older than me. All played a very important role in my life. I love each and every one of those girls deeply. But when we started school, it was very apparent that a lot of the kids that we went to school with had money like we had never seen before. My parents by no means were not well off or whatever you want to call it, but it felt like, comparatively speaking, we were maybe less than. There was even this joke that if you lived on the other side of the tracks, like those were the less wealthier areas. And that was kind of something I noticed very early on. So I do remember having this sense of like, how do I fit in here? How do I fit in here? Right? It's like a double-sided question. How do I fit in here? And how do I fit in here? That's what she said. Sorry. I'm so sorry. But I felt this sense of lack of belonging. And it was something I internalized. It wasn't something I think even at that time I could have recognized, but it was just a feeling that I did not fucking like. I didn't like seeing all the girls have all the limited two that they wanted to, showing up dressed to the nines, okay, with the newest and truest limited two, blinged out. Their mom's picking them up from school every day with Starbucks, taking them to soccer practice, taking them to swim practice. My mom and dad both worked very hard. My dad owns his own business. My mom was in pain management at the time. They worked very hard. We had babysitters who would pick us up, or like, we were a working household. We lived in a working household. I'm very grateful for my parents. They gave me everything I could ever need. In third grade, though, and I've mentioned this before, I was diagnosed with ADHD, which at the time, I also internalized that, like, how is this going to help me fit in? I was going from second grade to third grade, so I started third grade at a new school. And within the first week at this new school, I was already struggling with like, okay, these people have a lot more than I do. But on top of that, my third grade teacher calls my parents and says, hey, Riley has a lot of these behaviors. Like, she's super hyperactive, blurts out answers, can't sit still, can't stay focused. I think you should have her tested for ADHD. My mom and dad mulled that over, and we haven't really talked about it very much, even in adulthood, because I didn't think it was a very powerful moment in my life. But my third grade teacher says to my parents she should get tested for ADHD, and that's exactly what they did. Now, at the time, ADHD was not at all viewed as how it is now. I was 8 years old. At the time, the way that they were treating ADHD was with medications such as Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta. I don't know the other ones because all I'm familiar with is Adderall. And that's what they put me on. They put me on 25 milligrams of extendo release Adderall and 15 instant when I got home from school. Starting that new medication was so surreal because I had never felt like that in my life. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not making this up. I was 8 years old and I remember sweating like bullets down the side of my rib cages so much that it tickled me. I would have a shirt on like this and be sweating. My stomach was always in pain and they never knew my parents, this diagnosis set off a ripple effect in my life. And I didn't know it. And it took years to understand what exactly that was. But I start taking Adderall and I start making friends at my new school. I'm pumped. We were called the Fab Four, and all 4 of us, big personalities, just lovable. I mean, we were just young girls, and we had a very tight-knit school. Our school, as you can imagine, was really small. I think that there was maybe 30 to 40, no, 30 is too small. Probably 40 to 50 people in my 8th grade graduating class. Shout out Anchorage Public School, but very small and very, very intimate. We were friends pretty much with everyone. Adderall, man, it will alter your life. And I didn't even know it. Because guess what? It didn't make me any fucking better. It didn't make me better at school. It didn't make me focus any better. It made me focus on all the wrong things. There was one common thread throughout all of this, though, and that I was good at art. I liked art. Anything involving it, I could pay attention to. It could captivate me. It could hold my focus for an extended period of time. You put math in front of me? Absolutely not. To this day, I can't do fractions. To this day, I have done every tutoring you can imagine. I have taken every after-school class that you can imagine, extra math. It doesn't matter. It's not the way my brain works. And I would tell people this, like, I don't understand this. I don't like this. I don't want to do this. Testing gave me anxiety. School in general gave me anxiety. I only wanted to go to school to see my friends and go to art class and maybe gym. That was it. I have never once thought to myself, like, hey, I could deal with reading, but again, there were rules to reading, rules to comprehension. There were no rules to art. And I didn't like rules from a young age. I have not liked rules at all. And let's dive into that because behavioral stuff is fun to touch on. Now, I want to pause right here and say that none of the things that I'm saying have to do with the fact that I turned out to be an alcoholic. And if they did, it's probably about this much. I am an alcoholic today because I have the gene and the disease of alcoholism. No matter what my parents could have done, no matter how much I could have received as a child, as far as love or nurturing goes, I wouldn't have turned out any different. Whether I was good at math or not, I was going to be an alcoholic. So I just wanted to put that in there because I think a lot of people want to break down and psychoanalyze their childhoods and pinpoint and be like, that's why I'm an alcoholic. That happened to me and that's why I'm an alcoholic. Granted, people have far more trauma than I do. I would barely even recognize my childhood as traumatic, but at the end of the day, I was predisposed to alcoholism. It runs on both sides of my family. I was going to turn out like this no matter what. Okay. And that's a very freeing thought. Back to it. School was just school. You know, I fucking hated it. I couldn't stand it. I liked being with my friends. I liked kikiing and going to lunch and taking chocolate chip cookies from the lunch line and, you know, passing notes and making laughs. And I loved always making people laugh, but I didn't feel like I always felt like there was like one little piece missing from me. All my friends that I mentioned earlier, they had it and I didn't. I didn't like that. I have felt like I didn't fit in for a very long time. So I'd fill that void with jokes. I'd fill that void with like, what makeup can I try? Can I experiment with clothes? Can I hyperfixate on boys in my grade? I used to cry myself to sleep because eventually all my friends got boyfriends. And I, as a result of taking Adderall, fucking was flat chested. I weighed maybe 80 pounds soaking wet all throughout middle school. I had no tits. No ass, but that's okay. And that's okay because, like, I don't know, middle school relationships are superficial, anyways, for the most part. I used to cry myself to sleep, like, can so and so ask me out? Can I please grow boobs? Not to mention, my younger sister, who's a year and a half younger than me, had the biggest boobs and the biggest butt, and my mom has the biggest boobs and biggest butt, and I was teased over and over and incessantly by the boys in my grade over this, like, what happened to you? I guess the boob train missed you. They thought they ate with that. They did. Low-key, it really hurt my feelings. Anywho, but yeah, and all throughout this, that shit made me resent my sister even more. Her and I was just struggling so hard to find my identity, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think the common thread that I've seen throughout what I've been saying is that I struggled to figure out who Riley was. I didn't know who Riley was. Riley could be whoever you wanted her to be. I learned that's what I was really good at. I could be whatever version you need me to. If you told me you liked a song, I could look up like 5 songs and then kind of figure out, you know, what your music taste was like and go from there. And I'd have you saying like, oh my gosh, like we have so much in common. That was who I was. I was a chameleon. I had no conception of who I was, what I liked, what music I wanted to listen to. And that piece was missing. I struggle and I get to, whoa, I'm going too far ahead of myself. But struggle and ADHD, I don't know enough about it because I tried to like block that out of who I was and out of my personality and what made me me. It's such a big part of who I am. It bleeds into who I am today. I'm unmedicated today, but you know, the people with ADHD, as far as I know, they're bad with regulating their emotions and they're super passionate, but they lose interest easy and they're all over the place. That's how I felt. I mean, that's how I define it. That's how it works in my life. I just had this God-sized hole that they call it, this fucking void in my soul. I'm like, what the fuck am I? Who am I? Why does everybody like get along well and I can't feel like I belong. Even when people are treating me like I do, I still don't feel like I belong. You know? Isn't that the most isolating feeling ever? When everybody's having like a good time around you and you're still a part of it and people are still engaging with you, but inside you don't feel a part of. I really resonated when I got older and I heard like I could be in a room full of people and still feel completely alone. That's how I felt. Um, that's how I felt. So when alcohol was put into my life, I was ready. And it was going to take me on the ride of a lifetime. I don't necessarily, me and my friends, we go back and forth on the first time that I drank. I think most of them can remember the first time they drank because I was the last, okay? My mother had told me, Rally Claire, if I ever catch you drinking, you are going to be restricted for God knows how long. And I mean that. And she did mean it. And that she does sound like that. And yes, she referred to grounding as restrictions, which to this day bothers me. I don't like the word. I used to be like, can you just say that I'm grounded? Can you stop calling it restrictions? The word just irritated me. Like, sorry, mini crash out. A 16-year-old Riley just kind of popped out for a second. But my mother put the fear of God in me. And it's funny because I held on to that fear because I knew she meant it. But as I mentioned earlier, I didn't like rules. And after seeing my friends drink and get drunk and it looked like they were having fun, I remember one night, my friend group, the 3 girls that I mentioned, us 4, were friends with, okay, let me back up. So in Louisville, there's this dynamic of Catholic school systems, okay? And somehow, I don't remember how, we got involved with the kids hanging out at Catholic schools. And all throughout middle school, we would go to mixers and we would grind with boys and meet, the hotties that we were just like, these are our gods, okay? Our first gods were these men at Catholic schools. Most of the boys that we idolized in grade school are in a completely different place now. And then the other ones are just lovely and cheeky. And I have love for both. But it's just ironic when you think back on the people that you idolized in 8th grade, high school, and to see where they're at now. And maybe they're not doing so hot, I'm one of those people. Anyways, but yeah, so we got introduced to a bunch of kids from Catholic schools and we would go to these mixers. We would go to the Catholic school picnics and boys and girls would be drinking. They'd bring a little alcohol they stole from their parents or whatnot. And they all kind of lived near each other. And we were in our little bubble over in Anchorage. Like the Anchorage kids were like the goody two-shoe, like rich kids sort of vibe. I'm trying my best to like articulate and paint a picture. So somehow, some way, we get introduced to some girls at a Catholic school. And next thing you know, we've got like a good little core group going of girls, good blend of Anchorage girls and Catholic school girls. If you know who you are, you know who you are. And I remember this one night, it was during the summer. I still hadn't drank yet. Okay, a lot of my friends probably had at this point. I still had not. And it had been offered to me several times. No thanks. Can't even imagine. I'm staying at a friend's house over in Lake Forest. Shout out Lake Forest. Lake Forest is a neighborhood built into a golf course. It's all golf course and then some really fucking amazing houses. And we were staying at our friend's house and our friend's like, we're going to sneak out tonight and go and hang out with so-and-sos and so-and-sos. Oh my God. I was terrified, you guys. I was terrified. I was like, I can't. If my mom figured out I snuck out, I'm going to be grounded. I was terrified, shaking. I was little pussy bitch. I really was. I was terrified. Absolutely not. I can't get caught. My mom will fucking ground me to the end of time. But I did it anyways because I got peer pressure. No, I wanted to fit in. If this is what it was going to take for me to fit in, I'll do it. So we go out to the golf course. We meet the guys. They start passing around alcohol. The bottle gets me. I'm freaking out. I spit in the bottle. I'm like, we can't drink this. Genuinely. I'm like, we can't drink. Guys, we're better than this. Shut the fuck up and pass the bottle. You know what I mean? But I have so much love for that version of myself. I wish I would have held out a little longer, to be honest. But they also brought out what I think they thought was weed. I don't think it was weed. I think it was like some sort of spices. I don't know. They were wannabe gangsters. Who knows? But I was terrified. So we go and we walk back from the golf course and we see a cop car. I jump in a fucking bush and I hide in a bush for 45 minutes. I am so scared. I hear my friends calling out, Riley, Riley. He's gone. Like, come on. I actually peed myself. Genuinely. I was so terrified of my mom, y'all. My mom, I love her to death. Terrifying. Terrifying when I was younger. She had this like way about her that was so domineering and scary. Like, I believed her when she was like, you will have grave consequences if I ever catch you misbehaving. I didn't like do anything physical. She was just her word held depth and it held weight. So we get home and I'm like, that was amazing. I had the time of my life. Let me change my fucking piss pants. And I think that moment, because it sticks out so much in my mind, getting away with that, it like opened Pandora's box in a way. Because I was like, wow, I can break some rules and I can get away with things. Now, this was not my first time doing this, okay? I had behavior issues for a very long time. I was in kindergarten, my mom takes us Christmas dress shopping, and before that we go to Bed Bath & Beyond. We're going to the little outdoor shops, and Bed Bath & Beyond has this giant like tree of lollipops, and I'm like, please, can I have a lollipop? And my mom's like, no, absolutely not. We have dinner and we got to go try on dresses. You know what I do? I grab a lollipop while she's not looking, shove it in my pants. Next thing you know, we're going to try on Christmas dresses, and she finds it in my waistband and is like, didn't I tell you not to take this? I'm calling the cops. I'm like, I didn't know. And I had pushed boundaries before. I had seen what I could get away with. This was not my first rodeo. And there were behavioral issues very apparent. I can't think of of other references off the top of my head, but I terrorized my little sisters to a certain extent. I was always talking back, lashing out. My emotions were all over the place. I'm strung out on prescribed meth, so there's that part, but just all over the place. And that opened Pandora's box for me, I think, in a way, because I really saw for the first time, like, I could do something so radical like that and get away with it. So the next time we did something like that, I believe I was with one of my friends, and we go to meet up with some boys again in Lake Forest, and alcohol's passed to me, and I don't say no. I drink it. And I think the first time that I drank and got drunk, it was pretty much blacked out. One of our Catholic school girlfriends, her stepdad came and picked us up, and I was like, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to throw up. I'm in the back of this minivan, and I'm going to throw up. And my friends were like, you're going to fucking get us in trouble. I threw up in the sleeve of my sweatshirt, just like this. You get the picture. And I loved it. I woke up the next day and I didn't have a hangover, and I was like, let's fucking go. And we would go to these house parties on the river, on the Ohio River, and we would just get fucked up, and we would drink Kentucky Gentleman. And that was the summer going into my freshman year of high school, folks. And I wish I could say that high school was different, but it wasn't. I will tell you, there were 3 things I fell in love with in high school: men, alcohol, and marijuana, baby. The 3 horsemen, dude. For me, for an alcoholic like me, yeah. Freshman year of high school, I went to DuPont Manual High School. It's in downtown Louisville. It's a magnet high school, and I got into the visual arts program. That was very nerve-wracking. In order to get into that program, 50 people are selected. You had to go to a drawing session and bring an entire portfolio. You had to submit an e-digital portfolio with certain elements that you had to do. You had like sketchbook prompts. It was very cutthroat. It was very high pressure, and I was very scared because this is, again, where I didn't fit in. Most people at Anchorage, where I went to middle school, and all our Catholic grade school friends went to Catholic high school. There's 2 big girls' Catholic high schools, and that's Sacred Heart and Assumption. All 3 of my friends that I grew up with, my whole life, essentially, they all went to Assumption. That was not an option for me. I don't think my parents could financially afford to send me to Assumption, so if I did not get into Manual, and Manual was a good school, and we had some other people at Anchorage going to Manual. They had good academic programs. Like I said, you had to apply to get in, even though it was public. And so in the back of my head, I was like, if I don't get into Manual, I'm going to have to go to one of the bad public schools. It would have been okay. I would have been fucking fine. I just wish somebody would have told me that. I just wish somebody would have held my hand and said, hey, it's going to be okay. Or we're sorry that you can't go there. It doesn't fucking matter. I do think about that sometimes. And I'm being honest here. I'm trying to put my life out there. So I do remember that being really hard, and 8th grade graduation being really bittersweet because I was so afraid that me and my friends were going to drift apart. And that, again, like, I just didn't fit in. I have to do something different than all the people that I know. All the boys, they were going to one of the 2 Catholic all-boys schools, which was St. X and Trinity. Anyways, I get to high school, I get into the art program, and I really like it. I enjoy it. Adderall makes it really easy too. I can stay up all night working on projects. And the cool part about being in a magnet program is that every other day we were doing real school, and then every other day we were doing magnets. So some days I could just do what I loved, which was art. And I really liked it. But again, I did not fit in because all the people that were at Manual, they were all from the public school system, the middle and K through 8 public school system. So they all knew each other. They went to Mazik or they went to, I don't know, Barrett. They went to the surrounding public schools and they all knew each other. So again, I'm coming in on like school where I don't know anybody and I'm having to figure out dynamics and I'm in slow classes. I'm not doing great academically, but I'm still going out and hanging out with my, best friends on the weekends, still hanging out with all our Catholic school friends that I had before. It was seemingly normal. We would go and get fucked up at the St. X Trinity football game, as one does when they're from Louisville. And that was that. And, my freshman year, I got into some trouble. We went to Seaside for freshman year spring break. If you know, you know. And this was the first time that I ever got in trouble for my drinking. My mom had suspicions that I would drink. She had suspicions, but I was able to manage it because I would spend the night out at houses, which my mom was always apprehensive to let me do. She'd either have to talk to her parent, rightfully so, or know where we are and text me and blow my phone up. It was intense. Like every time that I had to go ask her to go spend the night out, it was scary. My mom and I are very close now, but it was very intense. Yeah. So freshman year, spring break, we go to Seaside. Me and my 3 best friends. One of my friends' moms had rented this giant house in Seaside, Florida, and she had rented it with her friend who just so happened to have kids that we were friends with, all in the same grade. We were all going to stay in this house and party together, and we'd all made plans like, we'll see you guys there. Me and my 3 girlfriends, we hit up, our friend's sister and was like, hey, can you get us 5 bottles of Burnett's? I think we brought, I kind of remember this because we brought 4 big handles, and 4 or 3 big handles and 2 of the 8ths. All we drank was Burnett's. And we had all different flavors. And we get there the first day, we're so excited. Now, what was funny is we're staying in this big house, right? 2 of my friends' parents also came to Seaside. They were just staying in their own places. They had other kids. It is the thing when you're in Anchorage or in Louisville in general to go to Seaside, Florida for spring break. So, we're staying with friend 1's mom and, her friend's kids and all that. But friend 2 and 3, their parents are on the same beach as us on 30A. First morning, we day drink. We drink as soon as we wake up. We get in bathing suits. We put on makeup. We're going to go meet the boys at the beach. This is what we did. This is what we were doing. This was what we were so hyped about. Talked all week, the week prior about this, spring break. And I remember we had the Minute Maid pink cans, and we poured half of them out, and then we poured our Burnett's in, and we put candy in it or shit. And most of us are sipping. One of our friends, whose parents were also on 30A, was sipping it, and she got drunk quick. And we're walking down the beach, just sipping our little drinks, and we see one of our friends who we're with, we see her mom. And the friend who was really drunk was like, I'm going to go up and say hi so she doesn't suspect anything. Next thing you know, we're all getting breathalyzed at the big house. At the main house we were all staying, all the parents were privy to this information. My parents were the only parents that were not there, okay? Now, one of the parents that was there was the parent who caught us, lived directly across the street from my parents. So I kind of knew either way I was cooked. We were all getting breathalyzed, da-da-da-da-da. I came with the main friend whose house we were staying at. I came with her. So the other 2 girls, they had to go with their parents. They were in trouble, grounded. They were not partying the rest of the time that we were there. Me and the other friend, her mom sits us down and is like, if it happens again, you guys are cooked. Go have fun. Go enjoy your spring break. I do not want to see or hear about this again. I'm in my head thinking, I might as well enjoy this because I know I'm grounded, restricted when I get home. So I might as well enjoy my time here in Seaside, Florida, and that'll be that. Either that night or the following night, we go downtown Seaside, and I am so drunk I can barely walk. I am riding a Razor scooter, and I fall off the sidewalk, and I'm just laying there. I'm There was a boy I liked at the time who was riding the scooter with me, and he ran off, and I'm I can't believe he just ran off. Well, next thing you know, I have a cop standing over me, and the cop's you've been drinking tonight? And I was no. No. Why would you suspect, officer, that I've been drinking? shit like that. And my friend's mom has to come get me. Basically, I get handed over from the police to her. It's my freshman year of high school. I'm belligerent. I'm absolutely blacked out. I do not remember anything from the rest of that night. I remember her mom kind of walking me up the stairs and putting me in the bunk beds. The fear that was in my body the next day when I woke up, I had never had fear like that. I had never thought that I would get caught. Not like that. Not in a really real way. And I woke up and that was the first hangover I can ever remember. And my friend's mom must have heard me wake up or groan, or she comes in the room and she's like, listen, I try to be cool. You know, I try to give you guys some space, some trust, but cross the line, either you tell your parents or I'm gonna. And she walked out of the door. She closed the door behind her. She's so cool. And I just sobbed. And I was like, this is, my life is over. It was, okay? I told y'all, my mama does not play. My life was over. So I text my mom. I say, Mom, I gotta tell you something. She's like, how's your trip? I'm like, Mom, I gotta tell you something. We're doing this over text because I was too much of a pussy. And I'm like, I got in trouble for drinking last night. I'm so sorry. All I get is a text back that says game over. Perfect. No, that's perfect. Perfect. And I get home and I'm grounded forever. Grounded for like 3 months, maybe. And thus started a long series of grounding. High school was like that for me. I was either grounded or getting drunk and getting grounded again. I was never good at not getting caught. I always got caught. It started getting really bad because there would be times that I had curfew and I would drink and drive. I've never admitted that on camera. I would drink and drive. And that's what I really got grounded for, and rightfully so. And at the time, I couldn't see it because it would be like 10 minutes from my house, and I would try to justify that to my mom, and my mom would say, it doesn't fucking matter. That's 10 minutes you put somebody's life at risk, and she wasn't wrong. I couldn't understand why it is that I kept collecting all these consequences. Every time I got grounded, I blamed my mom. You're too strict. You parent me too hard. You don't trust me. You invade my privacy. You go through my phone. You take my phone. You turn off my phone. So you're the reason that I drink. And I would tell her that. I fucking hate you is what I would tell her. You fucking ruin my life. You're ruining my high school experience. You're making my life a miserable living hell. These are words I've said to my mom, my own mother who loves me very much. I blamed everything that ever happened to me on her. I'm an A1 blame shifter. I blamed every consequence I ever received on my mom. Everything. It must have sucked for her. Because my dad, he was kind of like, get involved here and there, but he really didn't want to touch that. And we would just have so many arguments. And I would punish her. She'd try to kind of be normal when she'd come home while I was grounded after work. I didn't want to fucking speak to her. I put my mom through hell. I punished her the way that a toxic boyfriend punishes you, like silent treatment, withholding love, withholding affection, being angry, manipulating. I would be so nice to my mom if I needed something. Our relationship was tumultuous all throughout high school. And I always thought it was because because she had an agenda against me, because she fucking didn't like me, her own daughter. The reality is that my alcohol, the way that I drink, it gets in the way of every relationship that I ever have. My mom just wouldn't put up with it. My mom wouldn't enable me. My mom wouldn't give me what I wanted when I wanted it. Could she have eased up? Like, I don't know. Was her parenting style normal? I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. My mom loved me. She was trying to protect me. She saw where I was going. It was very clear that I was not experimenting and I was abusing by high school. It was very clear. There was a distinction. There is a distinction. I can see it now when somebody is experimenting with drugs and alcohol and when somebody has a problem with drugs and alcohol. I can see it now. I think my mom saw it. I think my mom has seen it in her family members. I think my mom knows and knew at the time that it existed in me. And it's so funny because, you know, they say like we become what we fear most. And as much as my mom tried to prevent me from going down that path, no matter what, that's where I was going. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. I'm going to chase what makes me feel good until it kills me. And it did. It slowly killed me. I have a lot of shame and a lot of guilt that I hold for the way that I treated my mom during those 4 years. I heard somebody say in a meeting one time, you're only as happy as your saddest child. If that's true, then my mom had some very, very unhappy years. She loved me in her own way. She loves me in her own way. I just couldn't see it. I loved alcohol and I loved drugs too much. That was my love. And whatever boy I was obsessed with at the time. A man is a drink with legs in my life. You know, I'm one of those, unfortunately. I don't talk much about love and sex and relationships because I think it can be touchy and I'm not fully healed from that part of my life. And that's okay. It's something I'm working on. But anyways, I created a lot of chaos in my household. I disrupted the peace in my household. I made my house a living nightmare, not only for my parents, but for my sisters. There's so many times when I think back about, I get this image in my head of like my mom and I just screaming at each other like we did it every single fucking night. And as I mentioned earlier, my youngest sister and I are 8 years apart. She was in grade school while I was in high school. And I just have this clip in my head where she's going up to my mom trying to show her a drawing or something she did at school that day. And my mom's too busy, either worried about where I am and what I'm doing or fighting with me. I took so much attention and love away from my sisters by creating the chaos that I did in my household. Attention can be good or bad, and I had generated a lot of negative attention, which in turn stole away a lot of positive attention that could have been directed to my sisters because both my sisters are incredible human beings. The youngest is going to PA school. My middle is a nurse and both have beautiful, very fulfilled lives. And they didn't turn out alcoholic because, again, no matter how normal our childhood could have been, I had the gene of alcoholism. Something set off in me, something abnormal happened to me the first time that I drank. In my body, in my mind, and in my spirit. And until something physically came between me and alcohol, this was going to be my life for a very long time. So I go through high school. I get to junior year. My junior year of high school is the first time I'm ever introduced to weed, and I'm open to smoking it. I think at that point I was kind of like a dog. Whatever was put in front of me, I would have done. And thank God I wasn't introduced to anything but alcohol and weed. But I was always curious. I was curious about weed, why everybody was so obsessed with it, and all the hot boys at my school smoked it. I'll give it a try. And that was my one true love, my first true love, sorry, because it opened something up. I was like, wow, I like being high. Who would have thought? I like the effects of a fucking drug, you know? Because that's why we like the effects produced by alcohol and substances. I always had this thing in the back of my head, like, you can't drink during the week. We had this kid at my high school who one day was in gym class and he was kind of strange. I weirdly was attracted to him. He had like long hair, he was skateboardy. He seemed disturbed in a way, not in like that kind of way, but in more of like a tortured soul kind of way. He was acting weird in gym class one day. He was so cute. He'd wear like little striped socks and high top Chuck Taylors and was flailing around. We were running the mile. He was flailing around and like, he literally looks like a fish out of water. Like, why is he being such a freak? Next thing you know, he's on all fours, throwing up everywhere. And he was in my math class, and I'm like, I guess he's skipping math. And so I get to math, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, so-and-so is throwing up. And they're like, you don't know? He drinks during school. He was drunk during gym. He keeps a flask, like he drinks out of a flask. And I remember being like, you can do that? People do that? People do that. And thinking, aren't we a little too young to do that? Isn't that an interesting thought? Aren't we a little too young to do that? Isn't that wrong? Aren't we too young to do that? Maybe I can do that as an adult. I don't know. Anyways, alcohol ruled my life, but I only did it on the weekends. It was very hard to get it. And I think that protected me for a long time too. It was very difficult to get. My parents gradually, less and less, keeping alcohol in the house, kept alcohol in the house. I mean, very gradually. They were like, we can't. Riley will steal it. My mom one time had a bottle of green apple brunettes and it was completely filled with water. And one day she's like, I guess thinks to herself, I'm going to throw this in the freezer and see what happens. I completely froze. Sorry, Mom. And you know what I would do when I was confronted with shit like that? I would lie. So dumb. I was just like, my behavior was so fucked up. My drinking, my partying was so abnormal. And then you introduced me to marijuana. And then I realized it's okay to smoke weed at any time of the day. It's a soft drug. And that's exactly what I did. And I'd smoke after school. I'd smoke before school. I'd smoke during school. There were many, and my parents picked up on that too, because again, I wasn't shy or sly about it. It would, be in my car. My dad would be like, hey, I got to use your car tonight. I'd forget it was there because I'm probably high and just completely in a different place mentally. You'd get in my car, come home, say your car smells like weed. I found their weed, taking it away. So much I want to touch on, you guys. So much. I want to give you a full picture of what alcoholism looked like and how it manifested in my life. I hope maybe you've connected some dots today because I think about my early years, and maybe it wasn't as normal as I thought it was, but it had nothing to do with my parents and everything to do with the fact that I was chasing, escaping how I felt and anything that could take me outside of myself. I was chasing that. Texting a boy made me feel desired. It made me feel less ugly than I truly felt. Drinking alcohol made me feel accepted and connected to people. It made me feel like I knew what to say, and you would think I was the funniest person in the room. It also made me brave enough to text those boys I was speaking about earlier. It brought me back down to earth. It made me feel relaxed because I was on prescribed meth throughout all of this. It's just a complete and utter balancing act of trying to feel normal, and I never was going to if I kept doing what I was doing. I didn't even know what normal was. I was chasing something I didn't even understand. I wanted to be accepted so bad. Not normal. Normal's the wrong word. I wanted to be accepted so bad. So this is where I leave you today. I thank you all so much for listening this far. I'm sorry if I was all over the place. This is my first time recording. I'm in the studio all alone, and this has been so powerful. I named this podcast At Long Last because that's how I felt when I got sober. Like, fucking at long last, bitch. You're crossing the finish line. Not really, but you've made it. You're here. You found that feeling that you were looking for, which is peace. That's all I ever wanted, was to feel okay with just being me. For the most part, I'm okay with being me. I like me. I've done a lot of shit, but I like me. If you're on the other side of this camera today, and you're thinking to yourself, I could never get sober. How am I ever going to get sober? I've been there. It wasn't even a conceivable thought for the longest time. But if I had known that a better life existed, if I had known that a 12-step program existed, if I had known that there were people my age getting sober when I was younger, I would have reached out a lot sooner. I wanted so desperately to find the answer to what was so fucked up with me that made me feel so unaccepted and so unlovable to the world around me. Reaching out for help is the biggest act of love you can ever do for yourself, and the first step you can make towards having a life beyond your wildest dreams. I hope somebody's gotten something out of this today, and if they have, then I've done my job. I love you so much.